What's up, guys? Welcome to SNS. Got a great show for you today. Erika Kirk breaks her silence. Candace Owens, the maelstrom responds. Is the U.S. at war with Venezuela? There's a terror attack in Australia and a shooting at Brown University. All that and more on SNS. We are Squirrels in Suits.
Is this the music?
I don't know. Pick one.
Oh my God.
Thank you for joining in on this episode of Squirrels in Suits.
That was really good. Maybe I should step back from the intro. Okay, guys, for those of you that have been following things, I'm sure everyone is at least tangentially aware of Charlie Kirk's assassination a couple months ago in Utah. And there's been some drama ever since. There's been a lot of conspiracy theories, a lot of questions being asked, a lot of drama on the right. We've talked before about a kind of fracturing that's emerging in the base, and at the head of that is Candace Owens. And to date, Erika Kirk, wife of the late Charlie Kirk, has been rather quiet along with the rest of TPUSA, but no more. Erika Kirk went on Fox News a couple days ago and had this to say.
But here's my breaking point on that. Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode, going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
You know, I have to say it. I've never.
Well,
Wait, what was she going to say?
I think she was just responding by saying, "Oh, I haven't seen you like this before," or something to that effect. Well, I think we all know who Erika Kirk is talking about because Candace Owens.
That's just an ambassador to India swearing in ceremony. Again, if that's your friend, you want to be there, that makes sense. She's also a person, and she can decide what she wants to do there. But the point that I am making is that's a coastal flight that she made to be there to watch a paper get signed. She has also made time for an upcoming CBS News town hall sit down with Barry Weiss, which was filmed today. So Erika Kirk has time. She has time. It is just what she means to say, not her priority, which is you are allowed to prioritize things in your own life. But this is not a matter of time constraint. It is not her priority to respond to the majority, actually. The majority of people think of this as BS. The majority of people think Turning Point is acting suspicious. And she does not feel that it is what she wants to do as a matter of priority, responding. Okay, that's fine. Now, to that point that people are making hundreds and thousands of dollars, I just don't get how there's not someone on this very large PR team, as we're seeing these PR campaigns go out, that doesn't go, hey, maybe we should strike that. They made $40 million like 2 nights ago at Mar-a-Lago. Maybe that feels kind of a little bit like let them eat cake-ish. Oh, and we've made more than, separately from Mar-a-Lago, Turning Point USA, since Charlie was killed, just so you guys know, this is a fact, has made more than $100 million. That is separate from the $40 million they made at Mar-a-Lago the other night. So since Charlie has died, that organization has taken in $140 million. But gosh darn you people that are making hundreds of dollars every day on YouTube talking about Charlie Kirk's assassination and the BS narrative that is being fed and the very obvious psychological operation that is being employed to make you accept the BS that they are trying to sell to us. Gosh darn you. Did you make $1,000 today? Speaking about Charlie Kirk? Well, you should be ashamed of yourself.
I didn't realize it was a crime to bring in money. And last I heard, TPUSA was doing some good work for the conservative movement on college campuses. Don't we want them to have money and resources?
Not just in college campuses. They're in like high schools as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of high schools that opened up a TPUSA chapter right after his death.
Yeah, I was there when Rancho High here in Vegas, they opened up their chapter. So we all know that TPS USA has been doing a lot of good work and making waves on college campuses. Charlie Kirk had the right idea. Instead of waiting for reality to smack people and then kind of bring them at least to the middle, if not all the way over to the conservative side, let's start getting people when they're earlier, like younger, and maybe that'll help the movement in politics. So I don't understand Candace's point here. Like, there's something wrong and nefarious about them raising money.
I think that there could be something if, as she said, okay, there's $140 million, right, that has been recently fundraised. So let's wait and see where that 140 goes, right?
Sure.
If they want to have transparency, they'll have transparency. And we'll see, okay, this money went here, this went here. And it would make sense, if they were very secretive about it and weren't very transparent, if it's going to someone's pocket, then it could be a little suspicious. Just how the BLM money didn't actually go towards any real change. It went towards a big mansion in people's pockets.
Well, on that point, I'm glad it went to someone's pockets instead of making fundamental change. Our country was going down the drain, and that movement was driving a lot of that. So, but yeah, I mean, I see your point. Like, if someone is misappropriating funds and using this to like enrich and benefit themselves, okay, cool. But I don't have an issue there.
Well, she also brought it up in a response to Erika of saying like these YouTubers are making X amount of money off of videos of Charlie Kirk and whatnot. So it was more of her also responding to what she assumed Erika Kirk was talking about her and probably some other YouTubers on it, and that it's ironic when Candace might be making hundreds of thousands of dollars when they're pulling in millions still.
Candace is not making 100 to 1,000 a day. It's more.
I think. Well,
Yeah, definitely.
no, I get that, but what I'm saying is it's more of Candace responding to what she heard Erika Kirk saying, and it's not like she's. I don't think she's saying it's bad for anybody to make money. I don't think Erika's saying it's bad for anybody to make money, but Erika's complaint is she feels these people are making money because they know they're going to get views by talking about Charlie and Turning Point USA and whatnot. And Candace is kind of like responding to that. But Candace also put in why is there not more information of what's going on with Charlie Kirk and his death, and why do things seem a little off with all of that? It's an interesting spot. I need to look into this more, but it seems like they both sides have their arguments.
No, I completely disagree. And this is where I start like hating conspiracy theories. Like, some of them are entertaining. It's fun to go down a rabbit hole and all this stuff. But this is ridiculous. Candace's like premise is that they're lying to us about who killed Charlie Kirk. And let's review where we are to date. Okay. We have video evidence of Tyler Robinson on campus. I mean, it's a little bit grainy, but some could say, putting the two side by side, there bears some resemblance. I'm sorry, and I mean that's circumstantial. That's maybe.
There's still some details about it that don't matter.
I don't think so. They recovered the weapon
in the woods, but he didn't clearly have it climbing down that building.
He broke it down.
You
That's
think
how
he had
he-
enough time to break that whole thing down?
I watched a video. It took a guy 35 seconds to break the weapon down and make it ready to fire and put it together. But here's the other part that
There's also more than just that too. There's like the sealing of the manhole cover, the gag order that the judge put on everybody there that was at the event. So there's more than just, oh, I saw a guy who can break that rifle down just as easily and shove it down his pants and then jump off a building also. And
the expedited
like-
construction that happened right afterwards.
Like, so there is, like, why did the expedited construction happen? Because it wasn't even a project until after that happened, and it was like instantaneous.
Yeah, but all that's ridiculous to me, and I'll tell you why it's ridiculous to me, is we have this man, Tyler Robinson, confess to the crime 3 times. He confessed to his furry gay lover. He confessed to his Discord chat of friends. He said, hey, that was me at Utah State or Utah Valley the other day. He confessed to his parents. His parents turned him in.
I'm not saying that he
Okay.
didn't do it, but
Oh.
conspiracies have been proved, down the road, but maybe he wasn't alone in the plan.
Well,
Like the same guy that was like, "Oh, just shoot me, just shoot me." He was also at another big incident. Also,
I saw
I
that.
think it was like the Boston Marathon bombing or something. He was also at the first old dude that everybody thought did it or something like that. And the shirt. There's just a lot more. I don't have all the evidence. I don't have all the facts. So what I'm looking at is both sides of the argument of what they're concerned about, and just making a judgment on this person sees it because of this person sees it because of this. This is what's not making sense to a lot of people, especially in the gun community. And it's just
You might have
them
to,
not being as more transparent is, I think, the problem. But also there's ongoing investigation, so only so much can be let out. And the gag orders were put out, so people can't really discuss this. I'm not saying I don't know enough about the two people discussing on this particular topic, but I think Erika Kirk does good things. I think that Candace Owens does good things. I think that it's unfortunate that the right is fighting with itself on this, and we do need to see the investigation, but I also don't think there's any problem with people asking questions.
I have a problem with people asking ridiculous questions. Like Candace Owens put out a tweet, I guess a couple weeks ago, where she was asking for public support or announcing that she was trying to, ascertain the 12 people in the crowd that were wearing maroon. Like that had something to do with anything. And here's another point too. Tyler Robinson has not denied doing this. His parents are not out in the public saying, "No way that my baby boy did this."
yeah.
They're not under a gag order. Okay? We have a clear-cut case. We have 3 confessions. We have DNA evidence. We have the parents responding the way that they are. I don't think there's too many questions here. And to your point about, maybe someone else was involved. Okay, if there's a nefarious state actor that wanted to kill Charlie Kirk, wouldn't it be much easier just to have a murder-suicide? You think they would have the power to tie up some loose ends instead of allowing for these gaps in the story, these alleged gaps in the story? And that's what I'm so upset about, is the drama here. If there's more evidence that comes out, I'm more than happy to change my opinion. But as it stands today, Tyler Robinson pulled that trigger, and he did so on an ideological basis.
And it all comes down to Erika's husband is dead regardless of who did it. And so she can either spend her energy moving forward and trying to live out his legacy, or she could, like Candace basically says, she needs to be investigating all this. But you also have to remember, if it is a big conspiracy, investigating and pushing all that is just going to put Erika and her children right in the same crosshairs that Charlie was.
It's funny you say that. I think we have some more video of Erika here.
So you want to put these people back in the box where they've been creeping from?
I don't care what box you're in. But just know that your words are very powerful, and we are human. My team are not machines, and they're not robots. They are human. We have more death threats on our team and our side than I have ever seen. I have kidnapping threats. You name it, we have it. And my poor team is exhausted. And every time they bring this back up, what are we supposed to do? Relive that trauma all over again? They watched my husband get murdered. I have no idea how I would have reacted if I was there that day. And thank the good Lord that I did not have to see that happen. But my team, they are rocked to the core. So why every single day did they have to be
There's
dragged
another video I want to bring up too, where Candace Owens is basically saying, the only people that can shut me up are my husband and Erika Kirk. Well, Erika Kirk just put it out there kind of indirectly. And now Candace isn't exactly following through, but check out this.
Like, I am on this journey to figure out what happened on that day. I'm not going to stop unless Erika Kirk asks me to stop, as I have said, or my father, or my husband asks me to stop, because truth matters.
And so my message to them is to stop.
I guess she's not stopping.
When did she post that?
That was several weeks ago. And the thing I find disingenuous about this, like Candace's tweet we talked about last week, is it's like she's grifting off of this. Like, she has no evidence. Oh, there was an Egyptian plane. What does that have to do with anything? There's 12 people wearing red in the crowd. What does that have to do with anything?
I mean, we have investigative experience. From an investigator standpoint, when you come across things like, an Egyptian plane, a red shirt or maroon shirt, this, that, you don't share that information with the public. You do like the good old-fashioned, put it on the board, draw your lines to each other, figure out what makes sense and what's actually valid. By throwing about a bunch of information, you skew the perception of it, and you make a whole bunch of different versions of the story. Someone might run with the maroon thing, someone might run with the Egyptian plane thing, and there's just a lot of misconception all over the place. That's why police departments do not release a lot of information up at front, because we have detectives sitting behind their computer screen, at least they think they're detectives, and they come up with the solution. They're like, I solved the case. And then their rhetoric online just takes off like fuel. So, and it's not always true information.
I mean, overall, I just find this gross.
Well, there's one thing is, like, I know that Candace was really close with Charlie when they were still around, and, whether she is snapping and going off of all the conspiracy theories or things like that, I just don't want to assume malice when she could be acting from a place that she genuinely is hurt because her friend did die because they were close together.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I think she's genuinely hurt and distraught by this, and I think that she would have been a great investigator, professionally, but it just comes down to tactics, right? When you're doing an investigation, there's certain things that you release to the public, and there's certain things that you don't until it's all connected.
Well, didn't they talk about making his trial now public versus private?
There was a blurb I saw very recently where I think it was Erika Kirk that was saying, no, we want this to be a public trial. We want cameras in the courtroom. And they let Tyler Robinson wear like civilian clothes instead of, prison fatigues or whatever. So I think that is something that has been brought up, although I'm not sure of the resolution.
Because I think that'd be the best way to fight against this, is just make it a public hearing with evidence that people can see and everything else.
I think there was a video, Tyler, it was a mouth reader, saying that he thought about the shooting every day. He was telling like his attorney.
Yeah, I saw that too. And like stuff like that's maybe true, maybe not true, but based on those texts I got like the day after it happened, I could believe it. I could definitely believe it. I mean, this guy is without remorse. He admitted to it as far as we know. And I'm happy to change my opinion if real evidence comes up. But I'm sorry, an Egyptian plane, worrying about if Charlie's been buried yet and what color shirt people wearing is not sufficient evidence for me at all. Like, I just can't.
What's with the red shirts? Is it because there's 12 red shirts? There's
I'm sorry,
12
maroon's
tribes
not a super popular color, so if there's 12 people wearing it, that makes sense.
What about the thumbs up dude that turned around and was like giving a thumbs up?
Oh, he made an apology about that. I remember seeing that.
Who did what?
There was some blonde guy
Who turned around
a
was
white
like
guy.
Gave a thumbs up in the towards direction of the shot.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Like posed
Like
for
as
the
it
camera.
as it happened, like it was happening.
It was
and he
almost
turned
like
and
he
was
knew
like-
it was going to happen. I want to say, I don't want to misspeak, so I'll touch on that later. But
Well, there was another tweet that said like, "Hey, it'd be wild if something happened
tomorrow.
on, September
that
10th."
wasn't that Omar?
I
I went down a
think
rabbit
so.
hole with him.
I think so. Like stuff like that's odd and worthy of investigation, right?
Yeah,
Like
he was-
it's almost too coincidental. But if it turns out to be nothing, it turns out to be nothing.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. Speaking of gun violence, there was a mass shooting at Brown University. According to New York Post, at least 2 killed, 9 people injured in mass shooting at Brown University. Subject is on the loose. A crazed gunman dressed in black stormed an engineering building at Brown University, killing at least 2 people and injuring 9 others before escaping police and remaining at large, officials said. The horrific mass shooting left the Ivy League campus and parts of the Rhode Island city of Providence under lockdown and in a state of terror as a desperate manhunt was underway. Well,
So they haven't caught the guy?
No, there was that surveillance video, but you couldn't even tell what race the guy was. By the way they were walking in stature, you could tell it was most likely a man wearing a beanie and all black. But that's all we got.
Yeah, and they're going to catch him eventually, but like I'm so annoyed and infuriated by the political grift that's been going on since then, because you have the usual suspects that are like, oh look, it's guns again, and I'm like, can we step into the world of reality? Yes, the guns were used, but a gun is a tool. If these people are intent upon killing people and having a mass cast event, they're going to use a bomb, they're going to use a knife, they're going to use a car, they're going to use something. They're going to do it regardless of the tool. And the counter argument is, oh, well, a gun is more likely to kill more numbers of people than, say, one of these other items. Well, that's not entirely true. I mean, I think 70 people were run over in a Christmas market attack a couple years ago over in Europe.
Look at Australia with Bondi Beach. I mean, yes, firearms are used, but guns aren't allowed in Australia. Like, how'd they get there? But their number one way of killing is by stabbing in Australia. If they're going to murder, they're going to murder. You don't need a gun to do it.
No, and, the counter argument to that, too, is, like, we want, here in America, at least in the land of the free, we want people to be armed and be able to defend themselves. In Australia, people can't defend themselves. So you see two psychopaths, and, I want to touch on that, get to that point in a little bit. I wanted to stick on the Brown University thing for the moment, because school shootings are a horrific tragedy that we should be doing everything we can to prevent, obviously within the confines of the Constitution, but we're not doing it. Like, little known fact, up to 50% of every building cost is used to meet fire code.
Yeah.
Like 50%. And we haven't had a student, teacher, or anybody else die in a school fire since the 1950s. Okay, I read in the article that the classrooms had proxy access. Like, you had to have a proxy card, but they said the buildings were completely open. Why aren't you using proxy access for the buildings? And then there's just so many other things that we could be doing to, like, prevent this, or at least very much minimize it in our country, and we're not doing it. And then the politicians and the activists want to get on the anti-gun wagon when, we've seen throughout history, when you disarm the population, the government takes more power.
Well, and what's that one like saying, like, if you have a gun and I have a gun, we can discuss things, like, as equals. If you have a knife and I have a knife, we can discuss the rules. But if you have a gun and I have a knife, like, you hold my life. Like, if you don't have equal terms with the ability to match violence, you pretty much have nothing. Mm-hmm. It goes back to, like, Thucydides, when Athens was talking to a small city-state. My apologies for not remembering it, but essentially it was a very small one. It wanted to remain neutral, and Athens is like, no. And they were like, yeah, but justice and this. And they're like, well, no, because Athens' response was like, if you had the power we did, you'd be doing the same thing to us. And then they came up with, like, okay, well, then what stops somebody from doing that to you later on? And they're like, well, if that is something that has happened, that is just going to happen. And that's when the famous line came out that the strong do what they can and the weak suffer what they must.
Yep.
Oh, facts.
And that's what it comes down with gun laws and gun control. And if you're a predator, and we'll use livestock for an example, and you have a group of sheep over here with no sheepdog whatsoever, and then you have a group of sheep over here that have like 5 or 6 sheepdogs, and you're a hungry coyote, you're going to go where there's no sheepdogs.
Facts.
Now you go to a city where there's a lot of law-abiding citizens who have a lot of gun control laws. In this neighborhood, you're like, maybe 5% of the people have guns in their house. But then you look at this neighborhood over here that doesn't have all these gun control laws, and you're like, there's a 90% chance that somebody has a gun in their house. Which one are you going to attack? The one where there's only a 5% chance.
Yeah, and that's, like, it's the path of least resistance. Like, criminals, when they burglarize houses, they do it during the day when nobody's there, presumptively, They don't want that resistance. They want to attack a soft target. Mm-hmm. But to get back to my other point about these people say we got to do everything that we can to stop these mass shootings, but they don't want to do things like secured and controlled access to buildings. They don't want to put a bullet-resistant film on glass so that gunshots won't shatter it. Colonel David Grossman, if you guys haven't read On Killing and On Combat, like, please do it, because there is a lot of like wonderful information in there about violence, and especially about school shooters and domestic terrorism. And there's a lot of very, very salient points. And something else we have to consider as a society is armed teachers.
Yes.
Israel had I mean, don't tell me that you're willing to do anything to stop mass shootings, but we're drawing the line at armed teachers. I think it was Israel, someone fact check me on this, but I think it was Israel. They had a school shooting, and then afterwards they armed all the teachers, like as a matter of civic duty. And they haven't had one since.
Yeah, the problem is like we have a lot of teachers that are anti-gun. Conservatives need not be lazy and go vote for school board members and things like that to get things passed, whether it's more police officers or a security company or training for teachers to be armed at the schools and whatnot. There needs to be something done because all our government buildings are protected by guns.
I know
The airport's protected by
private
guns.
schools can have guns.
Stadiums are protected by guns. Everything's protected by guns except for the most vulnerable people that we have out there, which are our children at school.
Yeah, so all you anti-gun people, like, spare me your crocodile tears, because those guys are the first ones to say, "Oh no, we don't need to arm teachers. Make it a job requirement." You really can, and if you want to go back to like the whole purpose of the Second Amendment. It's for the defense of a free state against tyranny, and they saw it as a check on government power, a deterrent to criminals, and a safeguard to self-defense. And James Madison, quote, "The advantage of being armed, together with the existence of a subordinate government to which the people are attached and by which the militia officers are appointed, forms a barrier against the enterprises of ambition, more insurmountable than any which a simple government of any form can admit of." And that's from Federalist 46. Another point in Federalist 46 is the framers of the Constitution said that there should only be a standing army in the United States that is 1/25th the size of the armed populace. Having a well-regulated state militia and an armed population was meant to be as a check against the government.
And now it's considered an extremist ideology. Militias in general.
Yeah.
100%.
Which is absolutely ridiculous.
Militias-
Isn't there like anti-training laws for militias too now in some states where militias aren't actually allowed to train or something like that?
I don't understand. Militia was exactly what you said, right? It's just like armed civilians that are prepared. Like, what if you have a foreign invasion? Who's going to be best prepared to take care of their communities? Is those groups of people. And it's not like they all have like an extremist ideology. A lot of the people I know that train, they're from every walk of life. They're from everywhere around the world. They're not just white people. You know, they're just protectors.
It's like a natural inclination. And then that's not to say that I'm not for, say, some degree of red flag laws. Like if you're making homicidal, suicidal states, like, okay, we're going to hold your guns for a little bit until we get you evaluated. I'm for, background checks. I think those are good things. I do find some of the FFL requirements a bit annoying, but that's because I'm not a psychopath. It's there to prevent, people from maybe getting their hands on a gun, at least in that moment. But there's another point that we need to also bring up. For all you anti-gun people, there are probably 500 million civilian-owned firearms in this country.
Yeah, like we're the only country that has like a 20-to-1 ratio. There's 20 guns for every one person. Like we blow the rest of the world out with how much guns we actually have in this country.
I lost mine last weekend in a boating accident.
Yeah, me too. I was on that trip.
You were on my boat.
Yeah, I was.
I don't have a boat anymore either.
It was a rental.
But
it was a rowboat we got off of OfferUp. Paid cash for it.
But the question is also for the anti-gun people. They say, "Oh, we'll just illegalize guns." So let's talk about what that actually entails. You need 2/3 of the state legislatures to propose an amendment to the Constitution, that is to repeal the Second Amendment, and then you need 75% of the states to vote for that amendment being repealed. That's not going to happen. So, folks, we need to live in the land of reality and work with what we have.
Well, in America wasn't based on safety. It was based off of freedom.
Facts.
That's the whole thing is like we'll sacrifice safety for freedom. Like freedom isn't free.
It used to be the Wild West. You lived out on a ranch, and some people would come by and, like maybe the husband's away and mom's got a shotgun and she's going to take care of her baby bears and she shoots them. It's like you had to have a gun back then, especially, living out middle nowhere, taking care of yourself. Like,
I think you have to have a gun now.
and now
Yeah, I was just saying.
we're
you should-
in
you
the
should-
wild, wild west.
Yeah, like if we're playing like fist, knife, gun, I always want a gun and a
So-
knife. The fists are,
This morning, I stopped at the gas station on the way over to our church, and I have a tactical drop leg bag on my leg, and the cashier's like, "Is there a gun in there?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "But I was dressed nice." He's like, "But where are you going?" And I was like, "To church." And he's like,
This obviously happened before the boating accident.
"Oh yeah," because then we went on another
Yeah.
boat this afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I lost that one somewhere. But yeah. So he was like, "So you're taking a gun to church?" I was like, "Well, yeah. Think about it. Our world's crazy right now. Like, what if somebody comes in and wants to just shoot my church up?" I'm like, "There has to be a good gun there to stop them." And he's like, "Yeah, I could see that." It's almost like duh, but he's never thought of that before. And he was probably in his late 50s. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I could see that. That makes sense."
Well, I think a lot of it is like those of us like this group that have grown up in like the country or the wilderness. You always had a gun because of predators, whether it's mountain lion, bobcats, wild hogs, bears,
Panthers.
whatever it's going to be. You want to have a firearm on a snake, anything so you can defend yourself properly. So our whole view of guns is different, where a lot of people in the city have never hunted and they've only seen guns used for violence of action more so than defense. And I think that's where they get this bad reputation for why these major cities are so anti-gun versus rural areas being so pro-gun.
But there's also
I don't
this,
agree
too.
with them. I highly disagree with them, but I think that's why they have a lot of their viewpoints that they do.
I think also, too, a lot of the older people came from a different time. Like, we didn't start having school shootings until the late 90s. And again, I'm going to name drop on Killing It on Combat. Colonel Dave Grossman brings up a good point, because I've always had this question, too. Like, why all of a sudden are kids going to school and, like, killing people? That is so outside of my consciousness. Like, I can barely wrap my head around it. And he brought up some points that kind of make sense, and there is some research to support it. We have kids that are hopped up on caffeine. They're not sleeping. Okay, they're playing violent video games, which, for those of you that say video games don't do it, let me get there, because I will. And then, so they're not sleeping, they're hopped up on caffeine, they're always on the screen time, which keeps them up. And, okay, well, let me circle around. So, in World War II, we had an issue with our soldiers. They weren't pulling the trigger in combat at all. And when these soldiers were training, they were shooting at normal bullseye targets. So what the Army did, to straight out of B.F. Skinner and operant conditioning, they made human man-shaped silhouettes to get their guys to pull the trigger. And it worked. So all these kids are playing Call of Duty and Battlefield. I play Battlefield too. What is that if not conditioning to pull a trigger? What is that? And then sleep. You guys can do some research on sleep too. You go anywhere from like 30 to 35 hours without sleep, you start hallucinating, like auditory and visually.
Yeah, it desensitizes you. It does. And you said, no, it doesn't.
I don't think so.
Well, you went to war. You actually had to.
Yeah, but also I played video games before I went to war too, and I didn't have a
probably
I'm going to
helped
shoot
you
up the
to
school.
pull the trigger. No,
Well,
I didn't say that you would.
No.
No. It just makes it easier for you to be able to shoot at somebody.
And the science proves this. I'm not saying if you play violent video games, you're going to be a murderous asshole.
No, not at all.
At all, because I've played all kinds of video games, and as far as I'm aware, I haven't murdered anybody. But what I'm saying is, I think it can be a way to condition people against committing violence. Because we did this with our soldiers. You remember the green Ivans on the range when we would
shoot
go and
pop
call
up
and
and down.
everything? Why is it shaped like a human?
Well, because we shoot at humans.
There we go. There
Yeah,
you go.
but, like-
That's my point. Point proven.
Yeah, but like I don't see like video games transferring
No, it
over
just
to the desensitized because it's a game and versus like training in reality. I don't know.
Well, you
I
get
don't-
adrenaline, right, when you're playing these games. You're just more prone to I don't know, carrying out your actions if you are kind of in the mindset that you want to hurt somebody. You saw this video, right?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, play it.
I'm going to play it, but also before I play it, I saw some comments saying like, oh, how dare the police come in there and just treat them like that. The thing is the police don't know who the shooter is, and he could be hiding amongst the students. This is standard policy.
Hands. Everybody get your hands. Hands. Just keep your hands up for us. Obviously there's something going on. We're here to help you. Just listen to what we have to say, okay? All right, breathe. Anybody hurt? No? All right, just listen to our commands. We will get you out of here safely.
So I think they handled that very well, right? They made entry like they're supposed to. They made sure everyone showed their hands. They asked if people are okay. Of course, they're not going to come in and give them a hug and be like, are you guys okay? The threat is still real. Their job is to stop the threat and to make sure that everybody's okay and to call in for secondary teams to bring medical in when it's safe. But they don't know who's a shooter. And so, like, for people to get butthurt that cops are coming in there with guns, those are the same guns that would protect them against the bad gun.
Well, and it's also they're in that fight mode. They're not in, hey, let me give you a hug mode. They're in fight mode, and they're handling themselves very well, in my opinion.
Yeah, they even let them go grab their backpacks and their phones, and then they escorted them out. So I think they did a great job.
Yeah, I mean, they did after the fact. It's horrible that happened. But jumping to this next headline, it was good you brought up the point about carrying a gun in church, allegedly. A Hanukkah celebration was attacked in, I believe it was Sydney, Australia, at Bondi Beach.
Yeah.
So according to the BBC, a gunman behind a shooting targeting the Jewish community at a Hanukkah event at Bondi Beach, where father and son, Australian officials say, 15 people, including a 10-year-old girl, were killed in the attack, which Prime Minister Anthony Albanese called an act of anti-Semitism and terrorism on our shores. The older gunman, 50, died after being shot dead by the police. The 24-year-old is still alive and in critical condition. And we have some videos here of the aftermath and what was going on during the shooting.
Yeah, that one.
So these guys were able to get off rounds for 45 minutes before the police arrived.
Well, police probably had to go get their guns because they probably don't patrol with them.
No, Australian cops carry sidearms.
Oh, okay.
Thankfully, these guys obviously are not a good shot because in 45 minutes and 11 fatal shots.
Or 15 so far.
Imagine, 15, yeah. Imagine if they were actually really proficient with those long guns.
I mean, I think they were. They got some close-ups of the shooter. Like, he's racking that bolt.
Yeah,
like
he's rocking it. I mean, he looks like he's in World War I.
He's doing a great job.
I'm talking about aim.
Yeah, no. I'm not
I hate to say he's doing a great job because
But
he's
45
a
minutes,
monster.
15 is horrific. But 45 minutes to kill
Oh, yeah,
it.
no. I'm not saying he's a good shot. He's just racking it
Well, there's a
fast rate.
So you said the Australian police, they don't carry guns, right?
No. They carry sidearms.
Oh, okay.
They do. I don't know what their capabilities are as far as long guns, but I'm sure they have a tactical unit at the very least that carries that. But there's a lot of information circling around social media. Like, there was one guy that posted a video of the cops and said, they were hiding behind cars for 20 minutes while these guys were shooting. There's also another video. I'll try and find it, while we're talking about it. But there was another video. There was a unarmed civilian, Arabic guy, that attacked the father and son pair, took the gun from him, had him at gunpoint, and didn't pull the trigger.
Which was pretty nuts. Well, he did the right things. You're not allowed to do that once you disarm somebody, but he didn't detain him, and he allowed him to go back, grab another gun, and start shooting at people.
Oh, you absolutely are allowed to smoke that guy. I mean, at least in American law. I don't know about Australia, but...
I think that even in self-defense, if he would have shot that guy, even if the son had the gun pointed at him, he probably would have gotten charged.
Yeah, I mean, it's Australia.
It's Australia. I want to also remind people.
That guy right there, that dude.
Yeah.
He's the one that did it. Freaking boss.
I want to remind people that that longer video of them just shooting around, there were multiple different camera angles from
here we
people
go.
recording. Those multiple different camera angles could have been multiple different scopes or, someone's line of fire. They could have been shot by any good person with a gun,
Well, that's the whole thing.
rather than recorded.
Well, Australia gave up their guns.
Yeah, they had a school shooting and they did a gun buyback.
Australia gave their freaking rights away a long time ago.
Yeah.
But
Like,
that-
it's their own freaking...
They're shooting video
Yeah.
instead of
Shooting-
justice.
shooting the bad
Instead of
guys.
shooting a bad guy, yeah. Which is great because we get to actually see what happened. But imagine if there were good guys with a gun. If that guy had a gun, he wouldn't have had to wrestle it from him. He could have just domed him or, like...
But the guy, so after this fellow takes the shotgun from the father, he goes back up on that bridge, grabs another weapon, and then continues to engage
people.
these Jews
Yeah.
that are celebrating Hanukkah on the beach. And I've seen some Muslim apologists online that they list all these terror attacks that are supposedly committed by Christians. And they even list like Dylan Roof, that guy that shot up that church in South Carolina like 10 years ago. People of all stripes do unspeakably evil things. Like, we're all capable of it given the proper set of circumstances. But you have to look at the ideology behind it. Dylan Roof was a racist. Like, he wanted to kill black people. He wasn't doing it because he was a Christian. Timothy McVeigh, when he bombed the Oklahoma City federal buildings, he was an anti-government dude. He wasn't doing it because he wasn't doing it in the name of Christ. And that's the difference between Muslim terror, Islamic extremism, and other types of violence and extremism. They are doing it, like most of these people, they're yelling God is great in Arabic when they do it. Like they have that driving them to do this.
You also can't be Christian and a racist.
No, you can't.
No, it's an oxymoron. You
Yeah.
can't be a racist and a Christian. And if someone is a white supremacist and says they're a Christian, they are not of God. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
Like our favorite topic, Nick Fuentes. Like, when we finally do a show on him, I want it to be so good. I want to spend so much time going through all of his stuff.
He's
But-
been watching a lot of Nick Fuentes, trying to get caught up.
I've been watching like his Piers Morgan interview. I watched part of the Tucker Carlson. Haven't watched all of it. I need to watch there's a teacher that did one with him too, and I want to see what Milo had to say about him also, because Milo doesn't like him, but him and Pierce were having a conversation. I didn't have
Pierce was
time to watch the
very
whole video.
Angry.
Well, Pierce he didn't do a good job.
No.
It was
at
very
it at all.
emotional, I think.
Like, 'cause he needs to engage with the ideas versus the labeling, and also like doxing Fuentes' dad was not the move to make. It made the rest of the interview look really petty.
Well, Fuentes was in control of that, and he was mocking Pierce, and Pierce didn't catch on. But like that part where he said, "Oh, I'm a Holocaust maximalist," it was at least 100 times. He's obviously mocking him.
Yeah.
Obviously mocking him. But this is scary stuff, man. And ever since the Beirut bombing in the 80s of the Marine barracks, the world has become very accustomed to Islamic fundamentalism and violence and terror and death. And what does that mean for America? How are we going to respond to this?
We need to outbreed them.
Well,
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what we do. We need to outbreed them.
And we need to have less boating accidents. I'm just saying.
Less boating accidents. We need to breed like crazy, and
We need God. We need God in the
That's
center of
the thing.
everything.
we need
is-
Jesus.
like, it would be so great if you came back. Like how, just like,
Until then, we have some Lord's work to do.
yeah.
Well, and with Muslims, like there's some things that I respect about Muslims. They protect their culture. Like, if you're not a Muslim in a Muslim country, you have to pay a tax for the privilege of being there.
Or you just get killed.
yeah, yeah, they have a legit tax.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, you're not Muslim, cool. You're gonna pay for your life.
It's like the mafia. Like, oh, you got a protection tax.
Yeah, it's jizya. They call it a jizya tax. And
What?
they yeah, I mean, that's what it's called. I'm pretty sure someone Someone check that. That sounded weird. But
What are they called?
jizya
What?
is jizya tax.
Okay.
Is it your accent, or is it how you say it?
I think that's how you say it. Like, I don't know.
Jizya. I'm gonna look at I don't know how you pronounce. Okay, it looks like jizya. Yeah.
Okay, so I was right. Cool.
Okay.
What else is new?
Josiah.
Here, let's see if Google can. Here we go.
Name pronunciation. How do you say it? Jizya. Let's break it down.
Okay,
Jizya.
I was right. But I mean, this also feeds into the larger conversation about immigration in America and how we need to respond to that. There's a lot of more people now calling for a complete moratorium on immigration to give people time to assimilate while we get the other people out that don't want to assimilate or don't want to go along the legal routes. And I fully support that. I think that is absolutely the right answer.
Yeah, if people aren't going to assimilate, they shouldn't be here.
100%.
Like if you came from a country that you didn't like, and then you come to this country to try turning the country like the country that you didn't like, I'm sorry. Also, those who have more allegiance to a different country than the actual country that they're in. Like, no country would put up with. For example, if I'm in a country and I'm like, if I go to Mexico and I'm like, oh, screw you, da 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 da, like America, they're gonna whoop my ass and throw me out.
Yeah.
They're not gonna be like, oh well, you gotta respect your opinion over here.
Yeah, and I think that's a point that a lot of people are waking up to now, and a lot of people are really leaning into. If you don't like America and you don't want to be here and you have a problem with white people or whatever racial group, then you are not compatible with American values. You're not compatible with Christian values. You're not compatible with America. So you don't need to be here. Like some of those people at the beginning of the Trump administration, some Arab immigrants that were basically saying, America's awful. We need to fundamentally change everything. And obviously Israel is one of their sticking points, which to the Muslim apologists or the Muslim extremist apologists that say if we didn't support Israel, we wouldn't have problems with Islam, I would point your attention to the 1780s when Muslim pirates took 1.5 million European and American slaves from the high seas. Yeah. So there's been a problem for a while.
Yeah, if you go to any country, and not just America, if you go to any country and try not to assimilate to their culture, and you bring a bunch of people from your country and you try to force your culture upon them, that's an invasion.
Well, and that's the whole thing too, is like when people say like, oh, this is stolen land, it's like, no, it was conquered land because the people who lived on the land were fighting each other, and territories were always exchanging throughout all of human history. That has been how it is. And now that we wanted to actually defend and maintain our borders is because we don't want to have a repeat of what happened. Like,
I know
it's just common sense. Like if you just if you have a bunch of people that migrate over here and then they start getting control of cities and then states, and then it's just going to lead to a bunch of strife and eventually like a real civil war where people are just so fed up with each other. They have fundamental difference in culture and values that they will end up fighting each other. That's why assimilation is so important. That's why America, we conquered this land from people who couldn't work together. Like, that is just it. Like, Tecumseh tried, but he lost. If he would have done it way earlier, we'd probably be having a whole different story right now. But the peoples that were here, they didn't work together. We're trying to maintain working together and to maintain our border so we don't have a repeat of what has happened. And by doing so, we've created the most powerful country in the entire world.
I know I'm very pale, and people tell me I'm not Native, but I am. And my family still lives on the reservation in Washington State. And our history is, we didn't have the Trail of Tears, right? Our tribe is where it's always been for a very long time. Tribes just didn't get along. My specific tribe, we were not an aggressive tribe, pretty peaceful. But that's not to say that some of the Oregon tribes were not. And, we had some feuds with other tribes in the area. And
you see that she was taught that her tribe wasn't the problem; it was the other tribes. It wasn't us Washington.
See, there it is.
Us Washington natives. It was them Oregon natives. I tell you what.
My great grandma.
And don't get me started on them Canadian ones.
Oh yeah.
My great grandma had a thing against Sioux, but I was like, oh, we have Sioux in the family.
And anyways, it was all the Sioux's fault, never the Okanagan tribe.
But there's a lot of hate amongst the tribes, and it came down to how to worship their version of God. how to have marriages, how to raise your children. It was all like, whose land border is this? And they all had very different ways of living, different ways of dancing and song, and and when the reservations came, they're forced to, like, our tribe stayed where it is now, and they ended up putting some of the Oregon tribes and like southern Washington tribes all up in that area. So we had to learn, I say we, my family, had to learn how to coexist and live. And it's just like, they weren't getting along even before.
Yeah, they still don't get along.
They still don't.
They're all like, they have as much corruption as we do in our politics on their reservations.
Yeah.
And then what did warring tribes do to each other when they conquered them?
Hugged each other.
Yeah. If by hugs you mean decapitating children and burning them alive and all that, then yes, hugs.
That's totally what it was.
Yeah.
Lots of hugs. Lots of huggings going around.
Definitely hugs. So a little bit more exciting to get things to a more domestic conversation. The U.S. decided to seize a Venezuelan oil tanker.
You know, I'm not like happy that we're doing a bunch of like stuff, but I'm also happy that if we're doing it on this side of the world. like the southern hemisphere of the western hemisphere, I think, has been long neglected by the United States to worry about a bunch of problems overseas when we should be focusing on our neighbors to the south of us.
Yeah, we see the consequences
And
in our
don't forget the
neighborhood.
north of us. Like, you Canadians aren't getting off the hook for freaking
For what?
for being 40 million people and thinking that they can make better trade deals than we can with other countries. Like, get out of here.
Well, we got some troops fast roping here. I mean, I like this, and I'll tell you why I like this. Trump is doing a fairly decent job of running cover for this. The whole point is to cut off Venezuela and get the communist regime, or not Venezuela, also Venezuela, the Cuban regime, and to get the Castros to give up power, because China and Russia have made a lot of inroads with, say, Colombia, say, Venezuela, and Cuba has always been a friend to them.
Oh, yeah, and have you seen that thing with, like, the Core 5 he's setting up?
Oh, I heard something
Yeah,
about
because they
that.
kicked Russia out of this, I think it was the G8, so now it's like the G7 or whatever. And so now he's forming like the C5 that is the United States, Russia, China, India, and Japan. And that they're all going to have their own discussions too. So the United States can be part of both places, but now the United States can talk directly to that bloc without the influence of any European country.
Yeah, there's been some interesting and interesting moves being made
so for
lately.
it. Because you know me, I'm not super big. I love history, but I do not like modern Europeans.
Well, I don't understand why people have a problem with this. I mean, we've talked about it because the Venezuela thing has been going on for, I guess, a month or so at this point.
Because the poor people of Venezuela are getting blown up. Oh, those poor people.
The poor drug narco traffickers.
And
Now, I will say, there is things where you don't know if maybe their families are being held hostage or anything else like that. Regardless, they shouldn't be doing it. I don't have any. It sucks that humans are dying, but I also think it sends that message of, hey, we're not letting anything slide. If you're bringing drugs over here, regardless of your background, you're going to get blown up. So don't do it. And I don't know what their circumstances are. That's between them and the Lord of why they're doing it. If they're being
it's money.
Because there's a lot of people who work on the trim operations in California and these other places that they're working because the cartel has their families.
Unfortunately.
But again, I like that we're sending a message of hey, fentanyl's killing hundreds of thousands of people every single year, so we need to put a stop to that.
Can I also remind people or educate people who don't know? I've done extensive research in my master's program about cartel that they do a lot of fuel theft and then reselling to sometimes foreign adversaries of the U.S. I don't know if this fuel tanker is legitimate or not, but it could very well be it was legitimate.
It was flagged. It was bound for Cuba.
And
Okay.
whose ship was it?
It was a Venezuelan ship.
Oh, sweet. So, what goods are we splitting up in the United States?
What?
Well, if we seized it, don't we get it?
Yeah, we're keeping it.
Yeah. So, what was on it? I want to know.
See,
it was
that's
oil.
where
Oh, well,
that's
sweet.
where some of the uproar
Maybe we can
is.
start replenishing our reserves that we tapped into under the Biden
But that's where some
administration.
of the uproar on these comments I see is that, they're just stealing resources from Venezuela. But that very well could have been U.S. oil that had been stolen somewhere and then trying to be sent somewhere else.
I don't care whose oil it is. If it's Venezuela's oil, good.
I'm
I
just
don't
saying,
care.
it could have very well been, though.
Well, that's the way to beat a country without actually having to put boots on the ground is you just starve them out.
And that's what Trump is doing, and I'm not mad at him. Cuba has been on our doorstep for when did Castro take over? 57, 54, something like that.
I don't know, but we should take over the Caribbean.
I mean, we practically have, except for Cuba, but I don't understand.
59.
59. Okay, I was in the right decade at least. So, and I don't understand why there's so much opposition to this. Why do the Democrats want to run cover for drug dealers that are bringing substances in our country that are killing hundreds of thousands of Americans every year?
Yes.
Like, why?
Because
That's
it's
why.
what Trump is not.
It's because it's dividing our country and it's lining their pockets.
Yeah.
Well, Representative Adam Smith was running cover for drug dealers and communists. Here, take a listen.
As president, he's expanding the idea of where we should go to war against all drug traffickers, apparently, and now against any country in the Western Hemisphere that he doesn't think is towing the American line. We should not be trying to dominate the Western Hemisphere. This is going to drag us into a conflict that is incredibly costly for the country, and it should be contrary to the values and principles of America. And let's keep in mind, there's no congressional authorization for any of this. He's doing it unilaterally, and I think contrary to the Constitution.
So it's not contrary to the Constitution because we have not declared war, and last I checked, we haven't invaded anything. So you just need to sit down, Mr. Smith. But yeah, that's just a weak attitude. Like, I don't know what this guy's problem is. We want to take drugs off
part of the globalist
streets.
agenda, like where the globalists want just a one world order type deal where they control everything. That's why I like that the whole C5 is happening, because now we don't have Europeans meddling with our trade deals.
Well, I think Europeans are more our friends than the rest of the world, at least right now. But it may not be that way in short order.
I still don't think they should have any opinions on our trade.
Well, I mean, they don't. Like, what opinions do they have about our
Well, think
trade?
about how much they can run interference, like compared to the G7 now versus now we have a C5 that we can build because we're right in the center of the two of them. Like, we should be able to have two different types of negotiations going on, and that's Trump is breaking that mold versus all the presidents before him. Like, they had to go and talk with Europe and all the trading partners to get things done. Now he's like, boom, nope, this is the way that America is doing it because we don't need to listen to your influence or your influence. We're going to make trade deals between nation states.
Well, and what's good for America, right?
Yep.
Like, this guy, he wants to maintain, like, business as usual. Like, do you want 300,000 Americans a year dying from drug overdoses and not doing anything about it? How dare we
I think that's warfare. I think it's fifth generational warfare with media and drugs and, like, destroying the culture of a people's is fifth generational warfare, to get its own people to hate themselves.
Well, they're doing that. And how dare we use American power and military might to protect our own citizens?
Yeah, that's why I think it was dope when JFK was like, oh, Russia's trying to put a nuke in Cuba? Nah, man, send that fleet out. We ain't doing this shit.
Mind you, he's trying to protect all Americans, regardless of party.
Yeah.
Facts. Well, here's a...
And Canada, you can join us.
not Canada.
Yes.
Maybe Alberta. But
Blame
that's it.
Canada.
Alberta, the territories. Yes. Become territories, not states, though.
They're going to be more liberals. You do realize
That's why they're
that,
territories, not states. They don't get
to vote.
They don't get a vote.
right? We're going to disenfranchise the Canadians.
They get to use the U.S. dollar. Congratulations. And have their own tax codes. You know how much Alberta would thrive if it wasn't connected to Canada?
I don't know.
It would be a lot.
I'm not up on Canadian politics and economics, but...
I am just because of my dad.
So here's Representative Smith being a shill for drug dealers and the global liberal world order.
Look, we worked very hard over the course of the last 80 years to try to build a world that wasn't just about, the most powerful nations, subjugating the less powerful nations. That was the basic principle. After World War I and World War II, we thought having that type of world led to almost the destruction of the planet. Let's move in a different direction. Let's try to set up a rules-based international order based on the rule of law. Let's not try to dominate people. Now, there's all kinds of details around that, to be sure. And President Trump wants to erase all of that. I mean, remember.
No.
Well,
That's
no.
stupid.
Well, he's being dumb because let me ask you guys this. Let's go throughout all of history, and when has the dominating force in whatever period of history you want to go to been benevolent in any by any stretch of the imagination? The answer is none until the United States of America dominated the world stage. We have not been conquering or colonializing people. Yes, we've put military bases in other places, but we haven't gone throughout the world and subjugated people and done stuff like maybe the British Empire did.
Well, and it's like when we could have, when we were the only ones with the bombs, we didn't just go around bombing and nuking everybody into submission.
Which is what any other world power would have done to this point.
Yeah.
So why?
Self-control.
Could you imagine if Russia got the bomb first? They would have been blowing up everybody.
Oh, exactly. I mean, we need to put this into perspective. And then Mr. Smith here, a rules-based international order. Yes, there is a rules-based, and it's one where we're in charge and we keep the peace between people.
And there shouldn't be narco states.
Well, I don't think there's going to be a narco state in Venezuela very long.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if y'all caught the news, but what was that lady's name that was the opposition leader to Maduro? Machada? Was that her name?
I'm not sure.
The one that won the Nobel.
Nobel Peace Prize?
Yeah, Maria.
Yeah, we smuggled her out.
Oh.
Like, that didn't make the airwaves in a big way, but we smuggled her out, like, before this started happening, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, because she even wanted to give her prize to Trump. She's like, well, he kind of deserves it more.
Yeah, but also the other question, too, is how is this going to affect the midterms? Trump's losing in the polls right now. Like, he's underwater, like, big time.
I think it's going to go like, I don't know. I think that if the economy continues to improve, we can keep snipping things in the butt. I think if it becomes more of American, staying America first and whatnot, I don't think the HB1 visas helped them out very much on that matter. It just comes down to if conservatives are going to be lazy or not.
Well,
because it's like, if you don't go out and vote, you're going to lose. And conservatives, I'm sorry, are some of the laziest voters there are. They show up for federal elections, but they don't show up for local, and they don't show up for, they only show up for presidential elections, I should say. They don't really show up for local elections.
Well, it's not just that, though. Like, we have to take back the institutions as well. Like, we need to be on school boards. They
But
need
that's
to
what
be
I'm saying,
judges.
is conservatives are lazy. So get on your conservative friends to go out there and actually vote for the midterms, because conservatives, time and time again, never show up.
Well, there is some good news in the polls. Right now, Trump is at minus 10 points and minus 13 for his favorability and the overall Republican Party favorability. But the silver lining is the Democratic Party favorability is underwater 23 points. So
we're not as bad.
We're not as bad as they are.
I just wish that, like, my opinion would ever be considered in, like, one of these polls. Like, where can I get on a poll? Like, you know what I mean?
I've actually been called, but I'm like, I don't know if I trust this person.
Yeah, I don't know. Just trying
Or
to
I've
find
got
out.
text messages, I'll take this survey, and I'm like, there's no way I'm clicking on any survey link on my cell phone.
No.
Like,
That's
sorry.
crazy. Well, the only
Like-
people that are answering these polls are boomers. Like, that's the only that's the only explanation.
I'm telling you, I think that these numbers are not reflected properly just because of the way that they're doing their surveys. I've done a lot of classes on research, and I don't think they're getting their samples correctly.
And I don't see independents being like, you know what? Like, I've automatically changed, and I want higher taxes, and I want all this other stuff to go to crap again. Like, I don't think the moderates are going to be jumping, an independent is going to be jumping over to the Democrat side.
I've definitely seen a more vocal change within the conservative
Yes, a lot more people are now willing to
They're
call
not
out the crazy
scared.
behavior, or like, hey, no, you're wrong because X, Y, and Z. You're trying to sexualize kids. You're castrating kids. You're murdering kids into the womb. We're not here to judge you for it, but we're here to say you, like, that as a Christian's, like, as it goes through another thing, you can't be Christian and pro-abortion. It does not work that way. And
Couldn't
a
agree
lot of
more.
people are coming out and finally saying it and being like, I'm not judging you if you had an abortion, but I'm saying, like, that is not Christian. And I've been turning back to this a lot when I saw this, is like, the one guy that, like, how Saul was persecuting and killing Christians, and then was a Christian himself and did so much. And I have to constantly put that in my mind. when I'm seeing like the jihadists or these people that have like on the left with radical views to not have to keep that hate and spite out of my heart and to keep myself like center. It's like, no, we all start somewhere. I'm a sinner myself. Like, who am I to judge? And hopefully they just come to that pathway. And I think more and more people are, and a lot of Muslims are converting to Christianity as well. Like, and a lot of the younger generation is becoming more, even more Catholic and Orthodox than Protestants. And a lot of Protestants are becoming Catholic or Orthodoxy.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence to support that, but Islam is a growing religion, and they say it's growing faster than Christianity.
Because they're outbreeding us.
Yes.
So do your part.
But also something that makes me upset is when I see like heresy in the church. Like you see stuff in the Episcopalian church, you're seeing a lot in the Anglican church that is they're basically social Christians. They use the church as kind of like a social activist organization rather than what it is, which is something that's holy and supernatural and otherworldly.
That's just Satan at work.
Well, I mean,
he's the author of confusion.
But we need Christians. I saw a video not too long ago. There was this girl, I forget her name, I've seen her online a good bit, but she went to a church and the reverend in name only was preaching like a pro-abortion message, like the compassion, the suicidal compassion kind of argument. And she just stood up in the middle of service and was like, that's not biblical, you're a heretic. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? I support this.
I saw another one of a gentleman who stood up and said it was wrong that they were preaching it was okay to be gay. Do you see that one?
Yeah, and I saw when you're talking about.
And they were booing him, telling him to leave. Yeah. You
know, it's just like, and that's where I really love that I believe, I could be wrong, but I know the Pope and the bishop, one of the Orthodox bishops, actually read the Nicene prayer together.
The Nicene Creed, yeah.
Yeah, the Nicene Creed together. And that's a good start, because I think if the Catholic and the Orthodox Church could unite, that would be a huge boon for Christianity and draw more people to. Like, we've been going back, because we're non-denominational, and I've been really interested in the Catholic and the Orthodox Church and trying to find that much more. Love the churches that we go to. They talk about serious topics, which I like. We're talking about gay marriage, sex, abortions, like the transgender problem. So like, it's nice that our church hits those hard-hitting issues, and I love that our pastor has that courage to actually talk about those issues versus just trying to put butts in seats to collect tithes.
But you're looking for more tradition.
Yeah, because you go into it and it's like Catholics and Orthodox are the only ones that can trace their roots back to the apostles. Everybody else traces their roots back to a person. Whether it was Calvin,
John Wesley, the Calvinists,
Lutheran, Martin Luther, Calvin, all these others, like all the Protestants can trace their roots back to them. They can't trace their roots back to Jesus and the apostles. There's only two churches that can.
And there's also this point too. My critique, because as you guys know, I'm Catholic.
No way.
Oh my gosh. My critique of the Protestant churches has always been this. Anybody can start a Protestant church. They don't get their authority from a governing body that manages doctrine.
And that's my concern, though. Having a governing body, it's just one body that could be corrupted, and now a bunch of other bodies are corrupted.
Everybody knows about the scandals with the Catholic churches and things like that, but the one thing is the doctrine, especially with the Orthodoxy, the doctrine hasn't changed.
It's never changed.
And that's been the thing is like, and if you're going off the problem I have with sola scriptura is it's going off of the scripture, but it's skipping the foundation that the church was actually built on through the apostles and everybody else that sacrificed their life to keep Christianity going. They just kind of jumped on, and they just trace it back to Martin Luther versus the actual people who are the authors of the Bible.
No, I understand that. My only concern was, like, let's say someone was the head of, the Catholic Church and made a decision that just persuaded everyone down the wrong road.
Well, and then the Catholic counterpoint to that would be Christ established his church, and the gates of hell should not prevail against it.
And they've been called out. Like the church has called itself out a lot of times too, with different popes that weren't the best of popes.
Yeah, there's been bad popes, but the thing is, doctrine has never changed. The church is in a weird area right now with us being 63 years post Vatican II, and they kind of have this attitude of openness, which because before the church was very, very closed off, very, very secretive, and I get that to a degree, but they're trying to walk this line of being open and welcoming, but also maintaining doctrine, and it's coming across weird.
Well, and I actually thought about this the other day when they invited the LGBTQ and all the other letter community over there, and it made me think of when Jesus was getting criticized for hanging out with tax collectors and everybody else, and he's like, well, these are the people I came here for. So I kind of was like, okay, maybe they're inviting them because those are the people that need it the most, and everybody who is Catholic, that's fantastic. They're living by the doctrine, such and such. These are the people who need to be actually converted.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's a good point you brought up, because that's been going in my mind lately, because the Pope recently said some things about Muslims that had everybody in an uproar, and he said, well, Muslims and Christians can live side by side and coexist. The answer to that question is emphatically no.
I mean, there was a whole major crusade where three religions were fighting over one city.
But it's not just that point. Yeah. It's the point of what people who are irreligious or not very familiar, especially with Catholicism, don't understand is that the church does not conform to the times. The church does not conform to your personal morality. You conform to the church. And the Catholic position is the only way to salvation in the next life is through Jesus Christ. And Muslims don't believe that. But I think I understand what Pope Leo is trying to do, which is this. Muslims and Arabic people, this is another thing I respect about their culture. They're very spiritual people. They believe in God. They believe in the Almighty. And I think that is a demographic that can be converted. I mean, and I think it would be an absolutely wonderful thing. And I've been doing a lot of reading of the Quran and apologetics. There's a couple of points in there that are just kind of like, I think you would stump somebody if you asked them this, and it's in the Quran. It says that Christ was not crucified and didn't taste death.
Yeah, that what's his name switched places with him.
Judas
switched places with him, and
and I'm like, okay, so are you going to go against every reputable New Testament, Old Testament scholar, believer, atheist, agnostic, and everything in between over the last 2,000 years?
Like what about the part where they put their fingers in his wound?
Thomas?
It's physical evidence. You know?
Like doubting Thomas when he was like.
But I'm not even talking about like us as Christians, what we scripturally believe. I'm talking about people that are atheists and hostile to Christianity, like Bart Ehrman, who is a complete apostate, very smart guy, but he does everything he can to undermine the scriptures. And the one thing that he says about the scriptures is that the one thing that we can know for certain about Jesus Christ is that he was crucified under Pontius Pilate. Like, that is the one thing that we can know.
There's more documentation about Jesus than there is Julius Caesar or Alexander the Great combined.
And Emperor Trajan.
Yeah, so there's way more about Jesus. And that's where the one guy that was on the Joe Rogan podcast was like, well, if I believe all these other things, how can I not believe this? If I believe this little evidence that Julius Caesar was around and Julius Caesar did this thing, or Alexander did this, this, and this, if I believe this documentation, how could I not believe all this more documentation that we have on Jesus? And that's what actually converted him. He went to try disproving Jesus and ended up proving Jesus.
Yeah.
I love that.
And you hear a lot of stories about that. And I think one of the salient points that I like to bring up when discussing this topic is we have 25,000 manuscripts and counting of the scriptures dating before the 3rd century. The next ancient work that has the most amount of manuscripts is the Odyssey and the Iliad, and there's like 700 manuscripts, and they're from 600-800 years after it was supposedly written. But we have actual documents that some I mean, bold scholars would date to within 10 years of the crucifixion. But I don't know. I think apologetics is a topic that we should get onto.
Can I sidebar real fast on the Odyssey?
Go for it, man.
What if
Go for it.
Think about this.
Hit
Listen,
me.
you just conquered Troy, and it took you forever, and you know how to get home, but you're like, my boys, we just conquered Troy. Let's go on a crazy adventure for like 10, like not even thinking it was going to be 10 years. They went and partied with Amazons. They went and hung out and did all this stuff and like realized, 10 years has gone by. Shit, we need a cover story. All right. John, you're not coming home. You're not coming. You died valiantly fighting Cyclopses, my man. Like, I'll tell your wife you freaking did a great job. You're not coming home either? All right. I'll let them know X, Y, and Z. And they all just got their cover story straight before that 10 years they got home. It was just the biggest bro trip ever of a make-believe story to cover their asses when they got home to their wives like 10 years later, like, took a wrong turn, Poseidon was messing with us, made us drift off course multiple times. I know everybody else made it home, but our particular ship got lost, and it's been one hell of a ride.
So like the ancient
And I totally denied all the Amazonians. Got you.
So the ancient Greek version of The Hangover?
Yes. I think the Odyssey is very probable of the ancient Greek story of the hangover that lasted 10 years.
Yep, sounds like a Vegas story.
Well, think about it. One ship out of all of them get lost?
Highly improbable.
For 10 years? In the Mediterranean? Like, I'm just throwing that out there. The math doesn't math. No matter how much Poseidon is effing with you, it doesn't take 10 years to get back home.
Well, that's an interesting conversation.
That's why I had to sidebar it. But because the more I've thought about it, I'm like, there's no way.
All right, guys, that'll do it for this week. We will see you next week. Have a good one, and I hope you went to church. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.